Jared Ian Goldman is an American film and television producer. He's done both amazing indie films like Ingrid Goes West and The Skeleton Twins, and he's also done studio projects like the Punisher TV series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I had him on my podcast a while ago to talk about his career and his approach to movie making. So here are my takeaways from the conversation with Jared Ian Goldman. First, we talked about Jared's mindset behind choosing projects.
I try to think in like a longer arc of my career in how I sort of curate and cultivate what I'm doing. Some of it has to do with projects, some of it has to do with people who I'm partnering with. It also just has to do with whether a project not only speaks to me, but whether I feel like there's an audience for it, and whether I also feel like I know how to clearly get the project or the finished movie to that audience.
We talked about how to find an audience for a project.
If I'm reading something and it's a story that I really like, then it just becomes about like, okay, who is the audience for this? You're competing with so much other material that's out there. If I feel like I understand who the right distribution partners I would be aiming for to get the project out, then at least if there's an overall plan that I can foresee. And then I just mean people at home on their couches, watching, or people who go to the theater, like, how do I get to the audience who I think would enjoy this project?
I wanted to talk about money, specifically around how money affects project approval.
I've figured out how to balance the projects I do. Like, I just produced season 2 of The Punisher for Marvel, which pays better than a $2 million indie movie. So it becomes about balancing it and also having a very understanding and supportive wife who allows me to sort of pursue projects I believe in.
Jared also had an interesting insight around raising money for a movie versus getting people to see a movie. I
have to just know the project that I'm pitching inside and out. So I don't take pitches lightly, because if I'm essentially like going in and pitching an idea and asking someone for millions, if not tens of millions of dollars, I feel like it's my job to then be extremely prepared. Like, what's the shooting schedule? Who are you casting realistically? Like, what's the plan for post once it's finished editing? If the movie doesn't get into the right type of festival, and the right type of festival meaning a festival that's also a market, then it becomes about having individual distributor screenings and hoping that one of those distributors sparks to it and can come up with a plan that feels like in line with how we would hope audiences to see it. These days, I don't think there's any type of guarantee. It's easier to get a movie financed now than it's ever been in my whole career, but at the same time, it's also much harder to get a movie seen now than any time in my career.
And then I wanted to ask him how often his projects fall apart in the pre-production phase.
The only time a project has fallen apart is if the funding hasn't come together. So that's it. I mean, I've never had to bail on a project once it's gotten into proper pre-production. Yeah, I mean, you start to realize maybe it's not, the characters aren't as you thought they would be. But, as far as turnover, usually it's like, you'll have a director on board and a writer, so they're fixed elements to it. Sometimes casting can come in and fall out, but I don't really attach anybody else for going for financing. I mean, I know some people try to bring a DP or, some of the department heads, but, I just try to go to the market for financing with just the director and the writer and some pieces of cast.
If you want the actual proposal we use for our video production company to close new business, you can check that out at experiment27.com/proposal. You can have that for free. If you want more enterprise clients for your digital agency, check out experiment27.com. That's what we do all day. We find large companies to work with your company. If you want to work one-on-one with me in a consulting setting, we'll crack any business problem that you have. And that's a guarantee. That's maybe put like a little text underneath. That's not a guarantee. That's a joke. That's a joke, but we will try our hardest. That is over at experiment27.com/consulting. And if you've written a business book and you want it turned into a documentary that could be seen on something like Netflix, it's not your normal corporate video. It's going to be a piece of art that you can use and you can add it to your legacy. That is over at loreliapictures.com. We'd love to work together. I'm Alex Berman. Thanks for watching.